Join me on my visit to 48 North Latitude, 100 degrees West Longitude. 48 degrees North Latitude, 100 degrees West Longitude. I have established a tradition going back over 20 years of devoting a whole day or multiple days solely to getting out to the landscape, seeing physical and cultural geography, and visiting latitude and longitude intersections or confluence points. Thus, it was time for the 2024 trip, which I had been looking forward to for an entire year. I had flown to Bismarck, North Dakota 2 days before and had thus far visited 3 points on the first day and 5 points on the second day. As day 3 dawned, I departed my campsite, but before doing, I was invited for coffee in a trailer by a very nice long-term visitor to the campground. A real character. He even spent all winter there. Tough soul. Therefore, I had a late start, but it was worth it. I also had a stop to make to the geographic center of North America in Rugby, which I've always wanted to see, and that was totally worth doing, and see my related video on that. Therefore, it was after 10 a.m. by the time I reached the vicinity of the confluence point. I was on task to visit many points along 48 North. Yesterday afternoon and evening, I visited 97 and 98 West, and was now on a goal of 100 degrees West. I'd skipped 99 West because it was underwater, actually, and also because I had visited back in 2002 in a canoe over 20 years ago. Each one of these points, despite prior research with satellite imagery and maps, oftentimes presents a surprise. The surprise here at 48-100 was that I was driving east along the Section 9 road from the state highway. The road ahead of me suddenly was nothing more than a very faint track. It was not passable at all, unless with an ATV or tractor. Undaunted, I turned south and parked and then walked up to the pleasant-looking residence. There were cattle in the distance and lots of fields of crops. Fortunately, the landowner was home, this being Memorial Day weekend, and we had a nice chat before I received permission and set out on foot. I had a long walk ahead of me since the road was not passable, but it was very enjoyable going up and down the low-rolling hills in a due westerly fashion. It was a bit over 2 miles before I had to turn south after traversing several fields that were plowed in the north-south fashion. I spotted the lake to the west, and I knew I was close. After a few more up and down hills, I found a confluence point, the confluence point in the low point between the two hills. It was in the plowed field. But there wasn't anything planted, and thus I felt okay about stepping there and not damaging anything. I took photos and posted a video on my Our Earth channel, 48 North, 100 West. Feel free to watch that. It was nearly an hour into the hike. It was now about 11 a.m., late morning and late spring. The temperature stood out about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees C under cloudy skies and a moderate breeze. The best view was off to the south because this was a low spot in the hills. It is better to go to the field edge to the west, and then the vista widens. I have a very nice collection of confluence points now in North Dakota. By the time this trip would end, I would have all the points along 48 degrees north. I have most of them on 47 degrees north and 46 degrees north as well. Check out this map hat. I've also stood on 48 North Latitude in many places from Washington State all the way over to Minnesota. I've also stood on 100 degrees west on the north end here in North Dakota, all the way down to 100 degrees west, 30 degrees north in Texas. These cover a wide range of landforms, climate zones, and vegetation. Look at all those zeros. It is extra special to be on the 100th meridian, so I did not want to depart. This was traditionally the dividing line between the wetter east and the semi-arid west, or the frontier. But because I had grand plans today to visit 5 confluence points, and because it was already late morning, I set off in rather a hasty fashion. I was walking over the knoll and heading to the east-west track when I saw the landowner driving in with his ATV, his all-terrain vehicle. What a nice man. I rode with him back on the track to my vehicle. This saved me at least 45 minutes and would allow me to visit 5 points indeed again today. The landowner's dog, look at these views. The landowner's dog ran all the way back alongside us, all 2 miles. I was impressed. He wasn't even winded. The landowner told me about the moose and the mountain lion that had been here in the past on his property. After the fun ATV trip, I reported my success to the entire household and then departed. When the trip was all said and done, here are the final statistics. Days set aside to visit points, 4. Confluence points attempted, 15. Confluence points successfully visited, 15. Points where I met the landowner, including this one, 3 of 15 points. Points where I met the local dogs, including this one, 3 of 15 points. Miles, 1,588 kilometers, 2,556. Percent of travel on interstate highways, only 15%. That was my goal. Keep that small. Percent of travel on U.S. state and county roads, 85%. Campgrounds, 3 campgrounds. Windy confluence points, 13 of 15. Rainy confluence points, 3 of 15. Snowy confluence points. Yes, this was May, but there was one that was snowy, 1 of 15. Beautiful confluence points, 15 of 15. Convenience store stops, 7. Points I thought would be easier than they turned out to be, 2. About the same as I expected them to be, 2. More difficult than they turned out to be, 11. Points in wetlands, 1. In woodlands, 1. In non-tilled hills, 2. In agricultural fields, including this one, 11. Points along 45 north, 1. 46 north, 3. 47 north, 3. 48 north, 8. Total of 15 points. Points visited on day 1, 3. Day 2, 5. Day 3, 5. Day 4, 2. 15 points. Points visited on the mornings, 5. Afternoon, 7. Evening, 3. For a total of 15 points. Points visited in Minnesota, 2. North Dakota, 11. South Dakota, 1. Montana, 1 for 15 points. The most frequently visited longitude line was 99 west, and I got 3 points. Get out there and explore the world. Thanks for being with me.